Alright, back at it.
Back at it.
So I'm trying YouTube again, and I've decided to try some stuff other than speed paints. Cause like, no one cares about those goofy drawings that I made a year ago, right? That Genshin Gacha speed paint video was alright, but those drawings were pretty goofy too, I can't lie. I really do want to help others get through the struggles of drawing in a better and faster way than I did. And that's why I wanted to make this video. This video will be the first of maybe a 5 or so part series. It'll be like a quintessential quint tutorial. This will be a big overview video, the first video in this series. I won't go too in depth in each part yet, but I'll outline the main points and put the more detailed tutorials in the next parts. And I'll also give some general tips while I'm drawing as well. So if you're struggling with maybe drawing your favorite anime character, or maybe you want tips to improve faster, then this video should, in theory, be helpful. Okay, so the first step that I usually partake in is the choosing of the pose. Assuming you know who you're drawing, of course. Sometimes I just get like a magical vision in my head telling me how to draw the pose, but most of the time I use a site called Pinterest. I'm sure many of you already know Pinterest. Pinterest especially is very helpful for character drawing because you can easily search up any type of pose for any drawing, whether it be like a calm, relaxing pose or an action pose or whatever, it's usually there. For this drawing, I'll see if I can find the image, but I did use a Pinterest pose as inspiration, but I did modify the pose slightly during the drawing. Okay, so there was a little issue. I recorded while I was drawing, like quite a bit actually, and I did something wrong with OBS. I'm not sure what, but the recording, it came out completely black. I'm sorry. It's my first time using this software. Cut me some slack. What I'll do instead is record the general tips now, and I'll see what I can do. My bad. I have here a pretty general pose, slightly looking down, not too crazy. I didn't end up drawing a weapon, so ignore that. In this stage, use any pen that you really want. I use this pen for everything, Detail Brush, love it. I'll provide it if any of you guys want it. Just let me know in the comments. Okay, so on to the tips.
Let's go.
Firstly, when you're drawing the head, I found that the circle, yeah, that's right, the thing that everyone says in every tutorial, the circle. But I've never seen anyone say why it's so useful. It's so useful because a circle is a circle from any angle, right? So because of that, you can draw a sphere at the start, which is what I do, and be sure that at least until that part you've done everything right. Okay, and secondly, just a few guidelines. I have one chopping off the side of the head here, because human heads aren't perfectly spherical. Got a little crosshair at the top here. Yep, if you're looking down on the character, you'll be able to see the top of the head. Got the ears drawn there. Okay, and the eyes. I like drawing the little boxes for eyes like these. Remember the 1:1:1 ratio? I'm sure you've heard that as well. Keep it brief. Don't need to make it detailed in this stage. Okay, so if you looked at the thumbnail, you know who we're gonna draw. Roxy, Mushoku Tensei, cool character. Drew her many times in the past with, let's say, varying levels of success.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
I usually use her as like a measure of progress, if you know what I mean. If you draw the same character with a few months break in between, you can usually see some improvement. I said this exact same thing in my last video, and that helps with motivation maybe and stuff like that. Okay, so sketching. You'd obviously want to lower the lower the opacity of the liner. Okay, yeah, ignore all these. Okay, so the sketch. Again, I apologize. I made recordings during the actual drawing process, but they got corrupted or something. I don't know what I did wrong, man. Yep, so as you can see, I have followed my general pose and structure, the first tip I want to give you is that, and it's a very important one, so listen carefully. For anime characters, right? But especially for anime female characters, their eyes tend to be slightly lower than, let's say, if you drew realism. Don't know why, maybe it's cuter, maybe it's more aesthetically pleasing. Instead of drawing around these, the first guideline here, try to draw underneath a little bit. Yep, in these boxes here. I know most people want to just draw anime girls, so should be helpful. Okay, moving on. Next tip, keep the pose layer underneath so you can see it here, so that you can use it for clothing folds. Right? So over here, we have a good example. So we have a leg that goes up like this, slightly up. So it would be interacting with the clothes above, right? These lines here, they're all a result of her leg being slightly up. And these here too. Yeah. Also, these clothing folds, they might look cool, whatever. I just did it randomly. Like, you don't need to think about it too deeply. Oh yes, and I forgot to mention, if the character that you're drawing happens to have like a lot of layers of clothing, like Roxy does here, you might want to try drawing the lowest layer first and then the top layer, even though the bottom layer will get, you know, covered up. It feels like a waste, but if you want to get it accurate, it'll be very helpful. If you want it to look good, it's good to invest the time into it.
Hold it!
It's time for a hot take, okay? Now, I know you expect me to say, oh, I hate line art so much, I hate doing it. That's a common take, okay? Not a hot take. My hot take is that I hate line art so much that I don't do it anymore. I just don't do it. And I also am confused on why some people do it at all, because, okay, I'm not talking about those really, really crisp art style anime drawings, right? Because you have to have a good line art for those. You have to have a good barrier for the colors so that it will contrast well with the background, stuff like that. But so many times I see, maybe it's an art YouTuber or someone on TikTok, they have a finished drawing, their sketch, their sketch is good, better than anything I could do, and then my heart just sinks. It dies inside whenever I see someone putting the opacity down right after their sketch, the perfect sketch, and then they make the exact same drawing above it, basically waste time to make it look less flashy, and then color that instead.
You're on thin ice, boy. You better watch what you say.
Okay. All I'm saying is that why not try to be just a little rough, you know? Why not try to introduce some chaos into the drawing? This is gonna be stupid. All I really wanted to say is, if you have trouble with line art, just try to move your hand more freely and don't try to perfectly copy a sketch. It's more like a guide than a rule, if you know what I mean. You'll find that line art isn't, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to have perfect rounded corners, have no lines sticking out. Like, it can still look good in the end, I would say. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Again, I'm not saying my way is right, their way is wrong, their way is right, mine is wrong. I'm just saying, give it a try. Could look cool. Okay, so you've got your line art. Let's pretend I did the line art after making the sketch, make it less visible, draw over it for the next 2 hours. Let's say I did that. Okay, now you want the base colors, yeah? Okay, so here's the base colors. Also, my tablet's definitely weirdly colored compared to my laptop, because the colors seem right on the tablet, but it looks too light on the laptop screen. Does anyone know how to fix that? Okay, anyway, so we got the colors. Not much to say here for general tips. Just make sure to keep within the lines. If, again, varies with style, but most of the time you keep within the lines. Do it under the line art layer. I was a victim to this when I was starting out, so I'm sure most of you would already know that. Just in case one person out there is still putting their color above the line art, please put it underneath. In most cases, putting it above is just there. Okay, and what else? Oh yeah, so for the reference, if you have a reference photo, if it's fan art, if it's an art of a character that's already existing, feel free to just copy from the reference. There's no shame in that. Like, I did that for some of these colors here, the brown, and then just eyeballed the rest. Chose a dark blue for her hair, dark blue for her eyes, stuff like that. But yeah, no shame in just pasting the reference on the canvas and then just eyedropping the colors off that. But if you do want to eventually draw your own characters, you would obviously want to learn color theory, stuff like that. But yeah, other than that, just color in your line art and there you go. Okay, so let's say you have the base colors done. Now watch this. So your color folder, here it is. Above that color folder, you want to make a new folder and you want to click on clip to layer below, clipping layer. It's gonna make the whole folder a clipping layer to the folder below it. One of the best features ever invented, by the way. Godsend. Always use this whenever you can. For those of you who do not know, clipping layer, let's demonstrate here. Okay, normal layer here, mapping pen. Let's draw around. Boom, boom, boom. Let's say I make a clipping layer above it. It's going to be red over here for most programs, I believe. What it's going to do is a clipping layer above a layer is going to look at the layer below, and whenever you draw, it's going to never leave the border of the stuff on the below layer. I'm pretty bad at explaining things, but I'm sure you get the message. Okay, let's turn it off to see what happens. And look at that. Okay, well, and using that in conjunction with a layer type, which is going to be multiply. I don't know what that is. Multiply. Where is it? Right there. Multiply. What multiply does, I don't know what the technicalities of it is, but let's say you chose a dark color to be your, let's say dark blue. You want your shadows to look dark bluish. Now, any drawing that you make here is now going to turn into a shadowy, nice shadowy color. So now putting the work that I did back on, I don't remember which color that is, but that looks much better than what I was using just now. So using that, you can do the shadows really quick. That's right, no more going to each layer in the color folder, manually choosing a color, and then having to clipping layer all that layer by layer. You can just do it in one layer in the folder above using multiply. You can play around with the other settings too, like it can be darken maybe. Oop, that's on the, don't do that. Okay, let's try darken. That doesn't do much. Color burn. Yeah, it's very cool. Linear burn. Yeah. Just play around with these effects. Lighten, that you shouldn't do that for shading probably. Color dodge, screen. Yeah, you can just play around with these. Choose whatever you want. But for shadows, I found multiply with a dark color is probably best. And yeah, that's about it. Oh, and if you want to add a little flare to your shadows, let's zoom in here. What I did was, I really need to name my layers, okay. What I did was, to this main layer that I did all my shadows on one layer because I was lazy. What I did was I went to here, border effect, click on it, choose a color slightly darker than the shadow, and look at that. Little border effect on the shadows that makes it look a bit better. Again, up to you if you do that or not, it's completely your choice. But I found it worked quite well with my style. Okay, and here's the finished product. There's some more finishing touches I could add here and there, but decided to keep it simple for this one. I hope you learned at least one new thing here. I'm quite proud of this one as well. I said this exact same thing in the last video, and I really don't like the drawing from my last video anymore. So maybe it'll change, but right now I'm proud of this. So. If you would be interested in more detailed tutorial videos, please do subscribe and keep a lookout on the channel. They will be posted soon alongside some other videos that I have planned. Okay, what else do I have to say? I think that's about it. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.